Hey Star Trek fans, welcome to TrekLore, examining the people, places, and things in the Star Trek universe. This week I take a look at the blue-eyed, bearded first officer of the Enterprise D, Commander William T. Riker. Riker was born in the year 2335 in Valdez, Alaska, to parents Betty and Kyle Riker. His mother died when Will was quite young, and he ended up being raised by his father until the age of 15, when Kyle abandoned him. Will joined Starfleet Academy and graduated in the year 2357, 8th in his class. By the year 2369, Will Riker had been decorated by Starfleet a total of 5 times. His first assignment was as helm officer of the USS Pegasus under the command of Captain Eric Pressman. Pressman was undertaking illegal experiments in cloaking technology, and when the crew mutinied, Riker found himself picking up a phaser and defending his captain. He and Pressman, along with a few other crewmen, managed to escape the Pegasus before it was seemingly destroyed in an explosion. The surviving crew participated in a cover-up of these events, which was finally brought to light in the year 2370 when the Pegasus was discovered in an asteroid field. Early in his career, Riker was stationed on the planet Beta Z, where he ended up meeting and falling in love with a psychology student named Deanna Troi. Eventually, Riker decided to further his career by leaving Beta Z and taking a post on the USS Potemkin. This decision would shape both his and Deanna's lives for years to come. While posted aboard the Potemkin, Riker led a rescue mission to the science station on Nervala 4. For exceptional valor during the rescue, he was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Commander. Unbeknownst to Riker or his crew, a transporter mishap created duplicate Will Riker, who ended up being trapped on the surface of Nervala 4, where he would remain for 8 years until his discovery by the Enterprise. After a stint on the Potemkin, Riker was promoted to the position of First Officer of the USS Hood under Captain Robert DeSoto. In one notable incident aboard that ship, he refused to allow the captain to beam down into a dangerous situation, risking court-martial in order to protect the life of his captain. Riker was eventually offered promotion to the rank of captain and the command of the USS Drake, a promotion that he turned down in order to take a position as first officer on the USS Enterprise under Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This was only the first of a number of captaincy offers that Riker would receive over the course of his career, turning down nearly all of them to remain at Picard's side. It is at this point that we find Riker aboard the Enterprise D in the series Star Trek The Next Generation. Our introduction to the character was in the pilot episode Encounter at Farpoint, where we find out that Riker is sort of a stand-in for the Kirk-type character in this new Star Trek series. With Picard as a much different style of captain than we knew in the past, the baby-faced Commander Riker took the role of swashbuckling action hero and sometimes ladies' man. By season 2, we would see Riker growing a beard. Thank God, beardless Riker is kinda creepy. In my opinion, he was a much better character after growing the beard, although some would disagree.
I don't need your fantasy women.
Oh, you're so stolid. You weren't like that before the beard.
Over the course of the series, we saw him take on duties that were heart-wrenching to him personally.
Is it not true that had you refused to prosecute, Captain Lavoie would have ruled summarily against me?
Yes.
That action injured you and saved me. I will not forget it.
Reconcile with his father while wearing the most ridiculous costume ever, become the first human to serve aboard a Klingon vessel, and leave us with the most shocking cliffhanger ever when he gives the order to destroy what remains of his captain.
Mr. Worf. Fire.
All the while mounting chairs in the most perplexing of ways and being really good at saying Red Alert.
Commander, assemble the senior staff and go to Red Alert. We have a bigger problem than I thought.
Red alert!
Riker was once again front and center in the 6th season 2-parter Chain of Command when he butts heads with Captain Jellico, who has been placed in temporary command of the Enterprise D in Picard's absence. As a kid, I hated Jellico. He was an outsider shaking things up and, really being mean to the heroes that I've come to know and love. However, as an adult, I've come to appreciate that he simply has a very different style of command than Captain Picard, and Riker, in my opinion, is actually being quite unreasonable when it comes to dealing with Jellico and the changes he wants to make. I think in this episode, Jellico is very much justified in relieving Riker of duty, and even though he is a character that we've come to know and love, he comes across as a bit of a smug asshole in this episode, and I really have come to admire Jellico as a character. In fact, this video by Steve Shives sums up my feelings pretty well on Captain Jellico. Be sure to check out that video, I've got a link in the description below as well. After that, Riker has what I feel are a pretty rocky couple of years. I mean, his complicity in the Pegasus incident comes to light in the season 7 episode The Pegasus, when that ship is discovered in an asteroid belt, and his former CO, Eric Pressman, hopes to recover the ship and resume his illegal cloaking device experiments. This incident, of course, leads Riker to examine historical recordings of the NX-01 Enterprise in the holodeck. But yeah, we don't like to talk about that one. After the end of the TNG series and the film Star Trek Generations, the Enterprise D is destroyed at Viridian 3 by an obsolete Klingon bird of prey with access to the Enterprise's shield frequencies. The fact that the Federation flagship is bested by what Bones McCoy would call a Klingon flea trap, and the fact that Riker doesn't even attempt to eject the warp core.
Here we go! Bridge, we have a new problem. We're 5 minutes from a warp core breach. There's nothing I can do.
Deanna, evacuate everyone to the saucer section. Mr. Data, prepare to separate the ship.
Look, I know the warp core ejection system doesn't work 9 times out of 10, which could be the subject of another video entirely, but at least give the order to give it a try. He does, however, give a really badass order to fire when he finally destroys the Klingon ship.
Fire.
Anyway, Riker, in command, loses the Enterprise, and even has the audacity at the end of the film to say that he always thought he'd get a shot at commanding her someday. Yeah, not real likely, number 2. I kind of like to think that this is the reason why, a few years later, aboard the Enterprise E, he is still the first officer to Captain Picard. I mean, this is a man who was offered a ship of his own on 3 separate occasions and turned them down each time to stay aboard the Enterprise. When that ship was lost, you would kind of almost expect Starfleet Command to say to him, "Look, bub, sit down in the captain's chair or you're done." Instead, he's still XO, and I think it's probably because he was in command of the Enterprise when it was destroyed in, quite frankly, a really embarrassing incident. So, over the course of 3 films, Riker rides shotgun on Earth's first warp flight with Zefram Cochrane, rekindles his romance with his Imzadi Deanna Troi, comes up with the Riker maneuver while piloting the Enterprise E with a joystick that looks like it came from Radio Shack, and finally marries Deanna in the final TNG film, Nemesis. And finally, in that film, he also gets a command of his own, the USS Titan. The final canon appearance of Riker is as captain, bidding a fond farewell to his captain who he's served faithfully for many years, before leaving to take command of his own ship.
Serving with you has been an honor.
The honor was mine, Captain.
If you're a fan of the novel continuity that takes place after Star Trek Nemesis, you know that Riker continues to have a rather storied career as captain of the Titan in the book series Star Trek Titan. If you haven't checked out these novels, they're actually pretty great, and I urge you to do so. He and the Titan also play a fairly substantial role in the David Mack crossover series Star Trek Destiny from 2012. And since then, there have been many changes for Captain Riker, his wife Deanna Troi, and his family aboard the USS Titan. In particular, the crossover series The Fall, released in 2013, featured some pretty profound changes for Riker. No spoilers here, so if you haven't checked them out, you should do so to learn what happens to Riker. And remember, non-canon. So what are your thoughts on the role of Commander William Riker, played by Jonathan Frakes, over 7 years of TNG and 4 feature films? I know I was kind of harsh with him at a couple points in this video, but I am actually a huge Riker fan. He kind of has a bit of that everyman quality to him that allows people to really relate to him when they're watching him on screen. So count me as a fan of Riker and Jonathan Frakes as well. I'm a really big fan of everything he's done. So, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Riker? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video? Sound off in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, live long and prosper.